I don't know. Let's see. Okay, well, we'll start. Let's start practice. Feel free at any point in time. I'll put us on mute for comfort. If you'd like to add anything to our discussion, feel free. Whether you take yourself off mute and you'd like to add anything or type it in the chat, you're welcome to do that. And then I can also just answer verbally, whatever works for you. If you do have any questions or are curious about something throughout practice. But let me come back here so we'll get ourselves seated and started. Okay, welcome. If you want to start in a cross-legged shape in Sukhasana, if you want to sit in hero's pose or Virasana, you can. If you'd like to lay back down, feel free to lay back down. However you'd like to start your practice, whatever might be calling you. I know sometimes we arrive in a seated shape because that's just what we're taught to do. But really, however you'd like to arrive for your practice, let yourself do that. So with that in mind, moving around, finding our props and such. And then we're going to talk about a specific poem that I had found. I love when I find things accidentally. And I'm like, wow, this is perfect. When you don't sometimes when you're doing research, right, you kind of know what you're looking for, at least you're expecting certain things, certain words, certain phrases, right, certain topics as you're doing that research, which I also love to do. But when things kind of just find you, and I really enjoy that. There was on our front door, we have like this little glass, I guess. I mean, it's glass with like little squares and like, I get, it's not necessarily a cross, but like one line is vertical, one line is horizontal with two squares. And this morning it was like 7 o'clock. No, more like 7:23, 7:30, like when the sun rose. And it was shining through the glass and there was like a beautiful prism on the wall. And it was like with the square and it was like a rectangle thing. And then like all the little like specks that was from the glass, like shining on the wall. It was beautiful. And I never saw it before. So maybe it was just a springtime thing, like in transition of the sun and the seasons and such. But point of the story is that, again, like I didn't know that was going to be there. And all of a sudden I've just looked up at the door for some reason and it was right there on the wall. And it was beautiful. And again, like another scenario where you kind of just, something finds you, right, in these moments throughout our day. And first and foremost, maybe you already have something like that in your mind, where whether it was an experience or an image or a poem or a word or whatever it might be, but where something found you first. So we're going to kind of honor that space. And then throughout our practice, I'll read through the poem. It's just a couple lines, but I think it really relates to yin. So that's what we're going to use as our segue here. So feel free to close your eyes whenever you'd like. Maybe shifting within your seat. If you're laying back down, shift within the body, and then let ourselves settle here. And even maybe yoga. Maybe the practice of yoga or the practice of meditation was also something that kind of, was founded. Maybe you weren't necessarily searching for it. It kind of just stumbled into your experience or into your life. And just take a moment to arrive into that. Where is this? This placement of timing, whether we want to call it divine timing, universal timing, conscious timing, any type of timing, but there is just this natural order of things that just appear in the perfect time, in a time where it really resonates with you, where it really nourishes you or gives you something that you're really ready to receive. Whether it's a beautiful image on a wall, or maybe an aspect of nature, maybe a book, maybe a conversation. But all of these little, maybe smaller experiences that actually have a huge impact whether it is on our day, on our week, on our month, on our trajectory of life. And so just arriving into any of these thoughts around this topic, any of the feelings that arrive from this topic, helping us to settle into our body. Taking a sweep of consciousness, allow the body to soften. Noticing the sounds and textures of the breath. Even let yourself notice the gaze at the backs of the eyelids. All of our senses drawing in towards us, giving ourselves that undivided attention needed for our practice. And together here, let's find a cleansing breath. We'll breathe in through the nose and open the lips to exhale. Again, like that, deep breath in. And a deep breath out. This third time, hands might relax within the lap. Maybe one hand comes to the heart and one hand comes to the belly. Maybe both hands arrive into prayer shape, whatever it is for you today. You might take another cleansing breath. You might join me for the sound of Om, whatever you're choosing to do. We'll take a deep breath in. Very gently pausing, allowing the breath or the vibrations to settle within the heart space, letting them reverberate off the walls of the inner body as they seal our intentions for practice. And so wherever you are, whether you're sitting, whether you're laying down, let your arms stretch out and up. You're going to reach the arms all the way up to the ears. Just take a full body stretch or just a torso stretch, depending on where you are. And then we're going to all meet in child's pose. Okay, so no rush to get there. If you're sitting, you're going to have to come out of your cross-legged or Virasana shape. If you're laying, you might have to roll to one side of the body and walk yourself up to sit, whatever it is. Now, coming into this child's pose shape, if you want, you can bring a pillow or a blanket in between the knees, in between the heels and the glutes, the hips. You might have a forehead. We'll see. Okay, this is already going great. I don't know my body parts today. You might have a pillow or blanket underneath the forehead or the chest or the belly. If not, you can just let your forehead rest to the wall. To the floor. See? We'll see what happens. I'll ground down in a second. But allowing yourself to settle. You might keep your palms close towards you. You might walk your fingertips out towards the top corners of the mat. And then we're just going to open up our practice here. We're not looking for any specific stretch, though you might feel something. We're not going to hold this as long as a yin pose or anything like that. It's not mimicking deer or dove or open wing or banana or many of the other shapes that we come to practice. I'm just going to take a moment to settle here. Practice the skill of softening. Whatever that might mean to you. Practice the ability to let go of unnecessary tension. In child's pose, though it might be a little uncomfortable for the body, depending on the individual. But for the most part, it's a relaxing shape. Or for the most part, it's a comforting shape in some way. If it's not the arms, it might be for the legs. If it's not the legs, it might be for the arms. It might be because of the length of the spine, or just this connection from the forehead to the floor. So in this way, can we find the ability to tune into the breath, to soften into the body before we just kind of jump forth into any discomfort of a stretch. Maybe softening a little more deeply. And then together, we're going to take another full cleansing breath. Let's breathe in through the nose. And open the lips to exhale. And then when you're ready, we'll gently press down into the floor. We'll walk ourselves up and out of child's pose. Moving any props out of your way, you might arrive into a tabletop shape first. Gently swaying the hips side to side. Maybe even moving through a round of cow and cat as we notice the expansion within the spine or the back body. In the same way, we take counter movements after our poses or after our rebounds. We're kind of just doing things a little bit out of order, just so that we can fully arrive into the senses, but slightly differently. So whenever you're ready, we'll come to sit. Feel free to take as many counter movements as you'd like. From here, we're going to let ourselves start in half butterfly, but we're going to have a few options on where we keep that right foot. And this is one of my new favorite variations. So you might have a pillow or a blanket to prop your tailbone. Your left leg is going to extend out long, and your right foot here might rest in your left inner thigh. And this is what we normally do when we take our half butterfly. But instead, I invite you today to lower the foot to the calf, right? So instead of the foot being up here, it's going to be down there, unless you want to bring it higher. And when we do that, when we have that right foot rest towards the calf, now you're making a little bit wider of a shape with your knee instead of it being so close. But really do what's best for you. And you might stack your pillows and your blankets with blocks, right? Whatever you'd like to do. And then you might just hold on to the props. You might let yourself fold. You might just prop things for your forehead. Maybe you sit tall and you bring props super close to you and you're just letting your forearms rest. Maybe a slight hinge to the hips. Hey, Hallie.
Hey, do you know how to pin yourself to make yourself the big screen instead of the
one of the
mini?
Yeah. Thank you.
Good to see you.
No, that's helpful. I didn't do it yet, actually. So thank you for reminding me. Thank you. There we go. Perfect. So I'll run through that one more time, just so that that's helpful for everybody. Left leg is long.
It didn't work.
It didn't work?
No.
I just pinned myself though.
No, you're still one of 7 tiles.
Could you try, instead of clicking on, is your thing clicked on gallery?
Oh, now I see it. Never mind.
Oh, cool. Yeah, no problem. Teamwork. Hey, Kathy. Oh, are you going to help us? Thank you. Teamwork. So, but let me run through that one more time, just in case we missed any of that too, just to make sure that I was on the bigger screen. Right foot resting within the inner thigh or the inner calf, right? So whether you keep your half butterfly a little bit higher or a little bit lower, might decipher and might change the stretch a little bit. And then of course, putting your props at any angle so that you can support your body within the fold, whether you fold a lot or just Not at all. Okay, so I have the timer going. Whether your sensations are arriving into the left leg that is long or the right knee that is bent, it might depend on your body or how you're feeling today. We're allowing ourselves to work through layers of unnecessary tension. These knots of tissue, these tangled fibers that constrict us or stop us in some way. So there's no right shape, wrong shape. We're allowing the body to guide us here. And settling in, softening if you haven't already. Relaxing through the layers of muscle, through the layers of bone. Even giving ourselves the opportunity to soften the breath. If it feels constricted in any way, what areas of the body can you relax so that the breath can come back to that natural flow, that natural current? We'll stay in this stretch for a few more breaths. If you'd like to stay a little bit longer, you're more than welcome to. Or whenever you're ready, we'll gently let ourselves press down and we'll walk ourselves up to sit. You might help that right knee unbend and then notice where your body takes you. Whether we forward fold, maybe again, you come into child's pose every time. Maybe your body guides you to lay down, to hug the knees into the chest, or to maybe windshield wiper the knees. And we're just allowing ourselves to ride that current, taking any counter movements in the same way you would want to like ride the wave if you're in the ocean. So wherever the body wants to take you here, and then we'll find that one place to settle into rebound. Laying, sitting, wherever it is. Taking that moment to notice the subtle sensations. Any shifts within the breath. If you'd like to stay here a little bit longer, you're more than welcome to do so. But if you're ready for that half butterfly on the opposite side, then we'll come back to sit if you're not already there. Take your time, however you'd like to get there. And then propping the opposite side. So again, we can get that pillow or blanket for the tailbone. This time the right leg is long and left knee bends in. Whether you bring the foot to the inner thigh or a little bit lower down to the calf. If you are using blocks, you might bring the one block inside of that space of the left leg there, and then the other block outside of the right leg. And then you can always make your stacked props, the little fort here. Elbows can press down and can just hold your head within your hands. Our entire practice here, really body leads and mind follows. Mind is in the co-pilot space of things. Arriving into any variation, depending on what this side of the body needs, no right or wrong. You might be noticing the sensations through the legs, through the glutes, the back body. Not rushing into the deepest, stretch the quickest. And as we begin to listen to this narrative, right, the narrative from our internal space, let us begin to remind ourselves to soften, remind ourselves to let go of any clenching or gripping. Different sensations are found depending on where your body is resting, depending on where the unnecessary tension needs to stretch first for you. We'll be in our half butterfly for a few more breaths. And of course, if you'd like to stay a little bit longer, you're more than welcome to stay. Or whenever you're ready, you might take another cleansing breath. And then once the arms are ready to move and the torso is ready to move, you can begin to lift up and out of the fold. The legs might even stay where they are as the arms stretch up above the head. This left knee can unravel, and then you'll just be a guide, or you will be guided into any counter movements. And that might lead you into facing different directions within the room, whether the body stays seated, whether the body comes to lay back down, whether the body finds tabletop, child's pose, whatever it means, whatever it is. And we're just dialing back the logical mind in certain areas, right? Because if we were sitting, the logical mind might be like, why am I going to come to my belly? Right? Why am I going to lay down? I'm just sitting. But if we dial that back, we get to learn this fluidity within the body. And we get to notice this inner guidance that we have, and that there are purposes why the body's going to guide you to lay down or come into child's pose or to stay exactly where you are. The meditative experience continues to evolve as we tune in to listen. And this is why the mind is co-pilot, because sometimes it gets in the way. So with that in mind, you might stay in your rebound a little bit longer if you'd like, or we'll gently press down into the floor and let's come back up to sit. Here, we're just going to let ourselves rearrange so that we can come into another forward fold. Let's allow ourselves to prop the tailbone if you'd like for your forward folds as we come into Dragonfly. So now, instead of the legs being straight, we're going to let the legs open into this wider V shape, and we'll allow the ankles and the feet to relax. You might stack up blocks and bolsters or pillows and blankets and towels, whatever you have around. And you can bring things as close as you'd like to feel and to be more supported within the stretch, or you might bring things farther away and or lower as you let yourself fold, right? So the more you fold towards the floor, the deeper the stretch, which I guess is really relative. Sometimes you can keep the spine tall and still feel sensations. And sometimes we're exploring physically what the body's capable of doing. Sometimes we're exploring the other options of what the body is capable of doing. And you might notice a deeper stretch. certain stretches within this webbed fascial tissue occur when the spine, for example, in this scenario, is leaning in different directions. So sometimes hinging forward will then entertain certain stretches because of the hinge. But if you lean just a little bit to the left, that might shift the experience. If you lean just a little bit to the right, shift the experience. And if you sit up tall, that will also shift the experience. So just allowing yourself to stay open-minded and open-hearted. Sometimes the mind doesn't act out of knowing and only acts out of pattern. That's different than knowing. And so as we allow our body to lead and the mind to follow, we'll be guided maybe to some internal cues, just the shift of an ankle or even just the shift of the prop or movement in some way to assist in your experience. So continue softening. We'll be in our dragonfly for a few more breaths, wherever you are. And of course, if you'd like to stay a little bit longer, you're more than welcome to do so. Or when you're ready, we'll begin to gently walk ourselves up and out of dragonfly. Maybe your arms and the torso find some movement before the legs release, or maybe the legs are already releasing. Take your time. Eyes are closed, gaze is soft. And just allowing your body to guide you out. And maybe you don't need many counter movements. The body will take you right into rebound. Or we can let that experience settle into the body. The echoes of the fascia. And settling into the muscle memory. And just letting yourself soften, even in rebound. And if you'd like to stay here a little bit longer, you're more than welcome to do so. Or when you're ready, we'll gently awaken. And we're going to start talking about our twists. I'm going to give us it's going to be a couple options. So it's going to sound like 500 options, but you guys know there's so many different variations. So the two options we've seen a lot, and this third option we haven't really gone over much of. So let's go through the two options we usually see in case that's what interests you. And then I'm going to explain the couple other ones that are slightly newer. Now, as we come back to lay down, we're going to let ourselves twist to the right so that the left leg is on top. You might have a pillow for the back of the head or the shoulders. Option one is always supine twist. As you twist, you can keep your knees high into the chest. And if you need any pillows or blankets in between the knees, feel free to take that to prop however you'd like. If you want to come into hummingbird, you can take a blanket, a block, a bolster, whatever you have around you. And you might place your left ankle or your left foot upon that. And the higher the prop is, the deeper the stretch usually, but sometimes when it's lower, it gives you just that right angle, the exact angle that your body needs perfectly for your bones and muscles and such. So that's why it's always good to explore and be open-minded. Now, this left knee can also have a little bend in it. I don't even like it that high anyway. The left knee can have a little bend to it as well. Okay, so those are going to be the two options that we normally see. You're welcome to readjust into them. And here's a couple other stuff. You might lift up that left leg for a moment and pick up your right leg. That right leg is going to reach over the prop, and then both legs are straightened as we twist through the torso with the arms relaxing. Okay. This will deepen the stretch, whether it's via the left hip, outer IT band, back body, shoulder, right? Because all that fascia is connected. So this might engage other sensations. Instead of having that right knee close to you, just lift up the leg and straighten both legs as you twist. If you take it one step further, this left knee bends in and the foot comes flat to the floor. Right? So now it's not on that block anymore or prop, it's on the floor in front of your right leg. You might take your right hand and like hold on to the ankle if you want. And if you're kind of taking that variation, the knee might stay where it is. The knee might hug in towards your chest and that might create sensation, or the knee could be lifting and that could create some sensation. All right, so that's where we're going in terms of the new variations. If you have any questions, let me know. But you can take supine, hummingbird with the left leg straightened out. If you want to straighten out both legs, lift up the left leg like a drawbridge and straighten out both legs. You might bend into the left knee and bring your foot to the floor. Whether it's close to you, farther away, that could also engage different sensations, the knee hugging in, the knee neutral or opening up. And within that space, you might adjust on your right hip, you might adjust your right shoulder, kind of just finding the best twist and torque of the trunk of the body. If you need anything, let me know. But arms will begin to rest here. One arm might be higher than the other. begin to arrive. Any of the twists, any new variations of shapes sometimes activates your edge slightly differently. It might be activating a layer within the body that holds unnecessary tension. Sometimes the textures of the sensation can provide different experiences. Sometimes it's like that good discomfort, like if you're getting a massage. Sometimes you feel sensation, it's pretty comfortable, but you know the body's stretching and you're just driving and you're just content and happy. Sometimes the sensations are almost like an annoyance, like a growing pain. Reminding me of that commercial with like the siblings. They're putting their index finger like towards them and they're like, I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you. You know, I'm not touching you. And you're like, you're right there, like inches away. Sometimes the stretch could feel like that. And all in all, we stay present with the breath. Assisting ourselves here with the softening. Allowing the body to speak and share via sensation, via breath, via softening. I'll be here for a few more moments. Whenever you're ready, you might gently begin to awaken the arms first, and then maybe the legs one at a time. The body slowly shifting its way out of the twist. Maybe you come for some counter movement, or you let the body just relax into rebound, and you can take the counter movement later. Noticing the body's release. Feeling the subtleness within the sensations now as the fascia contracts back moment by moment. And again, giving yourself that undivided attention. If you'd like to stay here a little bit longer, you're more than welcome to. But if you want to prepare for the opposite side of the twist, you might find a counter movement, maybe the knees hug in, maybe you windshield wiper the knees, maybe the body arrives into a bridge pose, extending the spine, whatever feels good, moving the arms. And then we're going to let ourselves twist to the left so that the right leg is on top. Okay, so again, propping the back of the head or shoulders, you can supine twist to the left with the right leg on top. Right leg might extend out for hummingbird. You want to pick up that right leg like a drawbridge, let your left leg straighten as well. And then both legs can lean, maybe slight bend to the knees though. Then if you'd like to deepen that, your right knee can bend and your foot can come flat to the floor in any length, whether it's high towards the belly or farther away towards the left foot. Left palm can hold on to that ankle and the knee can hug in, the knee can be neutral, the knee can open. Letting yourself adjust on your hip. Adjust your left shoulder. Whatever you might need to settle into this twist. Allowing yourself to breathe into these sensations. Offer a listening ear. Maybe it's not the sensation that's testing you. Maybe it's the stillness. And in our external experience, we might often distract ourselves in moments of discomfort. But here we're tuning into that wisdom of the discomfort. What does it offer the body besides a release? What does it offer in the experience of the mind? Continuing to soften here. Noticing this blend between comfort and discomfort. Noticing this blend of calmness, but also strength and resilience. We'll be in our twist for a few more breaths. And then whenever you're ready, very slowly take your time, no rush. Let's begin to unravel. Whether the arms move first or the legs move first, guiding the body back to center. You might just gravitate towards rebound, take counter movement later. Maybe you'll take counter movement first and then settle. Noticing how our nervous system is self-regulating. Our nerves living within our fascia. Stimulates not only the release of the tightness in the tissue, or the unnecessary tightness anyway, but it also stimulates the nervous system. A signaling that we're sending through the calming of the body. The signaling that we're sending by lengthening the fascial tissue. If you'd like to stay in rebound a little bit longer, feel free to do so. But when you're ready to come back up to sit, if you're not already there, we'll maybe hug the knees into the chest or straighten your legs up to the ceiling, whatever will feel good. And then we'll gently roll to one side, or you can come up to sit however you'd like. No rush here. And then sometimes once you come back up to sit, the body has a counter movement or two. And the body gets to like live this experience of reclaiming the space. So if their body does want to move in some way, shape, or form, or just allowing it to, as the fascia reclaims its space, literally. So with that in mind, we're going to come into toe stretch and ankle stretch. I'm going to show a new variation of toe stretch. But before I do that, in case you don't want to put the pressure on your knees, then during toe stretch, as you come to sit, your left foot will hinge, the ankle twists a little bit so that the foot rests on top of your right foot, right? So your left foot here just reaches over and you'll pause, right? And then later for ankle stretch, you'll do the right foot over the left. But for toe stretch, you'll take the left foot over the right, okay? Now, normally for toe stretch, you might have blocks or pillows or blankets. Your knees will come together, toes tuck. We sit back on the heels. If you want to use blocks for your palms or for your forearms, you can. You can even do this on the floor as well, right? If you want to hinge forward. From there, right, we could also sit back on our heels, and that will also deepen the stretch. Now, in the event you want to, like switch it up and do something new or something different, you might bring your blocks closer towards you, maybe even higher, or you'll use the floor. But as you lean back, right? So now your knees are hovering off the mat. And as you lean back, your tailbone and your heels will reach towards the floor. My feet don't touch, right? There's stretch occurring. So there's no way that they're going to touch, at least not yet. So, but because this is a balance, right? We don't want to be all over the place. So you might use your blocks as a support. And if you don't have blocks, you can just tense your fingertips. And you might lower your head down. You might round into the spine as you sit back towards the heels. Now the stretch might come up through the Achilles, the calves, and whatnot. Okay, which is actually, that's classical Utkatasana, which is a conversation for another day. But having your heels towards the floor like that is what was originally chair pose. So anyway, let's come into our toe stretch here. Feel free to choose any variation. You might try a bunch of them, whatever works for you. And then just decide what the body needs today. You can always try another variation another day. Chin is neutral, maybe lifting up a little bit, maybe lowering a little bit. Letting yourself arrive. And at the moments of discomfort, when the body wants to isolate or disconnect, instead of letting our senses kind of like trail off to get distracted, how can we reconnect? Reminding ourselves of the body's wholeness. Softening the upper body helps to soften the lower body, vice versa. Breathing here. Finding that blend between comfort and discomfort. That blend between calmness and strength, resilience. We'll be here though, just for a few more breaths. You can always come out sooner if need be. And then very slowly, you'll begin to walk your knees down if they were lifted. You can continue to walk forward, coming into a tabletop shape as you untuck one foot at a time. If you were sitting, then your feet are probably already untucked. Everyone's welcome to roll into the ankles, pat the tops of the feet if you're in tabletop, maybe you shake the feet, whatever it might be. And then you'll find a counter movement or two, right? Maybe your arms are stretching, maybe you're moving through the spine in some way. And taking any natural movement, noticing the subtle sensations throughout the feet and ankles and shins and calves. And then this will bring us into our ankle stretch. So if you're sitting, you'll bring now your right foot over your left. If you're in ankle stretch, you might, option one is to sit in Virasana, having a block underneath, or as many blocks or pillows, whatever you might need in between your ankles. And that might be the best stretch for you, right? And if your hips don't reach to one block, then you can use two, or like I said, a pillow or something. Now, Vajrasana, at least using the Sanskrit term for a moment, if you draw your knees and heels towards each other, you're sitting on your heels now, right? So this is a different shape. And this might be enough of your ankle stretch. I already feel something. If you want a blanket or pillow underneath here, feel free. In the event you'd like to lift the knees, just like we did in toe stretch, then again, you might hinge back a little bit, draw a pillow or something underneath your shins. In order to really lift the knees, the ankles have to turn out a bit. So if you have that flexibility already, you can do it. And even though I can do it, my stretch is way more beneficial if the knees are low. But you can decipher for yourself whatever you'd like to explore. And then palms rest, chin neutral here, tucked or lifted, depending on the sensations that you're exploring within your neck and spine. And we'll all begin to arrive. Softening within the body in a way that is supportive. Carrying the unnecessary tension, the knots within the tissue, is not helpful for the body physically or energetically. So be patient here as the body releases over time. And checking in with the breath to make sure that that's not constricting either. Locate your presence within the body. And maybe taking one more full cycle of breath exactly where you are. And then when you're ready, we'll all gently begin to release the feet. Depending on where you are, we'll be releasing differently. If you're in tabletop, you might drum the tops of the feet on the floor. If you're sitting or in tabletop, you can shake the feet a little bit, flex and point the toes, roll into the ankles. And then again, letting yourself find any natural movement, because the entire body is experiencing that, not just the feet or wherever you were feeling the stretch. So let yourself have a moment of release. You know, if the arms want to stretch, let them. Once you come to sit back down, if your hands want to kind of massage or squeeze along your shins or your calves or your ankles or your feet and your toes, you're more than welcome to offer that. Okay. So from here, we're going to let ourselves come into one more thing before we take our Shavasana. And we're going to come into lung bench. So we can do this a couple different ways. You might have a pillow for the back of the head, and you'll take maybe a bolster, a pillow, or a blanket that's horizontal, and you'll come to lay back down. And if you want to do this with blocks, one block is vertical, and then the other block is in this horizontal way, right? So that your shoulder blades are resting on the block or on the blanket. But the block could also be completely flat, right? So whether you leave it here or here, either way, it's just all these different variations of lung bench, because your shoulder blades are going to come to lay down, supporting each shoulder blade. And then you'll have a pillow or a block or something to prop the head. Your shoulders might be lifted. They most likely will be as your arms relax down towards the hips, or maybe up into cactus, right? So we're now working with a little bit of arch to the spine. And if you are going to use a blanket for your lung bench, you might not want a pillow. That'll be a deeper stretch. But if you want to support the back of the neck, you can. Same idea with the blocks here, maybe starting on that second height. And sometimes, you know, it takes a second to kind of find the best variation of these props. But either way, the back is elevated. Feel free to try all of them, or maybe just doing whatever calls to you today. And then letting your legs relax long. Some people kind of have this like an itch to stretch. So if you want to bring the soles of the feet together, knees out wide, and take butterfly here, you can. It really depends on your back. If your tailbone needs support, you're more than welcome to prop your tailbone or your lower back at any time. Or maybe the upper body is just enough and your legs will relax long. Closing your eyes and beginning to settle here. And checking in with the gaze at the backs of the eyelids. Allowing the current of the breath to flow through the layers of the body. As we stay present within the stretch, we'll be here for just a few more moments. And then whenever you're ready, we'll gently begin to awaken the arms and the legs slowly. So arms might lift up just enough to come close towards the hips. Knees might bend in, feet coming flat to the floor. And wherever you are, there's kind of like this little dip to the side. As your one forearm and elbow press down, we reach up and maybe we come just to directly forward fold, just a relaxed caterpillar shape as the body takes a counter movement from the back bend in our practice. Feel free to fold however you'd like or take any other counter movements from there. Maybe an opening of the chest and letting your arms wrap around the shoulders. Whatever it is. But from there, our final rebound will be Shavasana. So taking any other counter movements, letting our props be reorganized, and using whatever you'd like for Shavasana. Whether you take Shavasana on your back, on your belly, on your side body, using pillows or blankets, whatever it is to get yourself comfortable here. And we'll let ourselves begin absorbing our practice. And in doing so, I'll leave you with the poem guiding ourselves into Shavasana here. Settling in to absorb our practice. This poem has no title, but it says here, how beautiful it is to be sensitive and strong at the same time. We let our emotions dance with our strength, and when the two come together, nothing can stop us. How beautiful it is to be sensitive and strong. At the same time, we let our emotions dance with our strength. And when the two come together, nothing can stop us. Very gently. Let's begin to deepen our breath. Noticing the way in which our body has settled here, the way in which the body has relaxed. In your own time, you might begin to wiggle the fingers and toes, gently awaken through the wrists and ankles. And following the breath, you might stretch your arms up and above the head, lengthening here. And if it feels good, knees can bend in. And maybe you hug the knees into the chest and wrap around the shins and rock gently side to side. Until you're ready, the body will roll either to the left or to the right. And bottom arm can serve as a pillow for the head. You can either stay here and end your practice, or gently press down into the floor, and we'll walk ourselves up to sit. But really, closing practice however you'd like. Reclosing the eyes in case they've opened. Taking that moment of reflection. Noticing any reclaimed space within the body. Expansions within the breath. Any clarity here within the heart or mind. Hands can stay relaxed where they are. Maybe again, a palm comes to the heart, a palm comes to the belly, or you bring your palms into prayer at heart center. Taking one cleansing breath or joining me for the sound of Om as we breathe in. Om. Gently bowing the chin to the chest. Thank you for practicing with me this evening, being elevated through yoga. Namaste.